Every single day, millions of us pull into a petrol station without really thinking twice about it. We stop for maybe 2 minutes, fill up the tank, grab a kinda overpriced energy drink or, I don't know, a dubious meat pie, tap our cards, and we're gone. It feels so incredibly simple, right? But behind those quick everyday minutes is an absolute beast of a business, one that literally never sleeps. Before the sun's even up, tanker trucks are rolling in. Beneath your feet, tens of thousands of liters of highly flammable liquid sitting in massive underground tanks. People are working around the clock, cameras are watching every corner, and prices? Well, they can change overnight. Every single liter sold is just one tiny piece of a highly orchestrated, multi-billion-dollar puzzle. Welcome to This Explainer. Let's pull back the curtain and dive into one of the world's most misunderstood businesses.
Now, this brings us to a massive misconception. When we think about the sheer scale of these operations, it's so easy to assume the obvious, right? Like, they must be making an absolute fortune selling all this petrol. But here's the crazy part, and it completely flips everything you think you know. Many of these stations make only a tiny fraction of profit on the fuel itself, barely anything. So that begs the question, if selling petrol isn't actually where the big money is made, what exactly are they selling?
Well, to really get what they're selling, we've got to look at how this whole crazy system was built in the first place. Picture owning one of the very first cars. The engine's running, open road ahead, but where do you get fuel? Back then, there were no petrol stations. You actually had to go buy fuel from pharmacies or hardware stores or general merchants. They sold it in cans or barrels. I mean, imagine buying highly flammable liquid right next to a hardware store's lumber section. Totally wild, incredibly slow, and honestly pretty dangerous. But as cities blew up in size and roads stretched out farther, that patched-together system just couldn't hold up. The solution wasn't just selling more fuel, it was building an entirely new, purpose-built network from scratch. They installed massive underground storage tanks so fuel could be dropped off in bulk and pumped into a car in minutes. Today, that pump on the side of the road is actually the final link in a gigantic global system worth trillions. To really appreciate the sheer scale of this, let's trace the absolutely mind-blowing journey of a single liter. That fuel you're pumping into your car, its story started literally millions of years ago, deep beneath the Earth's surface, where ancient plants and marine life were crushed into crude oil by unimaginable heat and pressure. Fast forward to today, and giant drilling rigs suck this thick black liquid out of the ground. But you can't just put crude oil in your car. It has to be transported, refined, pushed to these massive storage terminals, loaded onto fleets of tanker trucks, and then finally dropped into those hidden underground tanks at your local station. So what feels like a quick, mundane 2-minute stop for us is actually the anchor leg of a massive logistical relay race.
And what's super fascinating about step 2 of that journey, the refining process, is just how intense it really is. When that crude oil hits the refinery, which, by the way, is one of the most insanely complex industrial facilities on the planet, it gets blasted with extreme heat. We're talking temperatures well over 350 degrees Celsius. At that heat, the oil literally vaporizes. As it rises inside these towering distillation columns, it separates into different layers, and each layer becomes a totally different product. This is where we get the petrol, the diesel, jet fuel, lubricants, bitumen for roads, and even the plastics we use every single day. The sheer scale and raw energy required just to get the product ready to sell is absolutely staggering.
Okay, so the ultimate question is, after all that crazy effort, who actually gets the money when you tap your card? Let's break down where that cash really goes. When you pay for fuel, the money definitely does not just sit in the station owner's register. A massive chunk goes straight to paying for the crude oil itself. Another big piece pays for that intense, superheated refining process we just talked about. Then you've got the transportation, terminals, trucks, drivers. Oh, and on top of all that, taxes. In a lot of countries, taxes make up a ridiculously huge share of the price at the pump. Once you strip all that away, the station owner's profit is just a tiny little sliver left over at the very end. For a lot of them, we are talking literally a few cents per liter. No joke.
So, you're probably sitting there wondering, how on earth does a business even keep the lights on with margins that incredibly small? The answer is volume. This is what we call the high-volume hustle. Imagine a station pumping out 20,000 liters of fuel in a single day. Sure, the profit on every single one of those liters might be microscopic, but when you multiply it by tens of thousands day in and day out, the numbers finally start to add up. And this is exactly why location is absolutely everything in this game. A station parked right next to a super busy motorway can serve thousands of cars, while a quiet little neighborhood spot might be fighting for its life, even if they're charging the exact same price for fuel. In this business, traffic is way more valuable than advertising.
But listen,
Even with thousands of cars pulling in every day, the fuel alone still isn't where the big bucks are being made. So where is the real profit? Well, to find it, we actually have to pivot our attention completely away from those low-margin outdoor pumps. The true economic engine of this whole operation isn't outside at all. It's waiting just a few short steps away, right behind those sliding glass doors, inside the brightly lit building.
Walk inside, and what do you see? Bright lights, fresh coffee brewing, rows of cold drinks, salty snacks, maybe some sandwiches, and random car accessories. And let me tell you, absolutely none of this is an accident. While fuel gives the owner a tiny profit per liter, practically every single item inside that shop carries a wildly higher profit margin. Think about it. A customer pulls in for 2 minutes to fill their tank, then wanders inside to grab a coffee, a bottle of water, maybe a chocolate bar. Suddenly, that $3 bottle of water is acting like the real black gold for the business owner. Believe it or not, that one quick trip inside can easily become far more valuable to the owner's bottom line than the entire tank of fuel they just bought out front.
And this extreme difference in profit margins is the exact reason why modern petrol stations have evolved into these giant convenience centers. Just think about the different streams of income they've added to build up their business resilience. Some of them have added fully fledged cafes, others slapped car washes out back. You'll see ATMs, parcel collection lockers, electric vehicle charging stations, and even brand-name fast food joints all crammed into the same piece of property. Every single one of these extra services creates a whole new stream of income. Put them all together, and they transform what is honestly a pretty vulnerable, low-margin fuel business into a highly robust, cash-generating retail machine.
There's actually this brilliant saying in the industry, and it really hits the nail on the head. Think of the fuel pump as the invitation. That's it. Its only real job is just to lure people onto the property. Once you're parked, the station finally has its chance to make real money from products and services with much stronger margins. Basically, the longer they can get you to stay, the more opportunities they have to serve you. Every single shelf, every fancy coffee machine, every flashy promotional display right at the register, they're all meticulously designed around customer psychology to encourage just one more purchase.
But hey, before you rush out to buy your own petrol station, we need to talk about the harsh reality of this business. Because from the street, it looks like a pretty simple setup, right? A couple of pumps, a little shop, cars coming in and out. But underneath that clean, simple appearance is literally one of the most expensive retail operations you could ever try to build. Before a single drop of profit is ever made, millions of dollars are dumped into hidden infrastructure. We're talking massive, heavy-duty underground fuel tanks engineered specifically to store highly explosive liquids. Then, above ground, you've got the complex dispensers, a labyrinth of pipelines, state-of-the-art leak detection systems, special drainage, security cameras everywhere, and heavy-duty fire protection. And every single piece of that equipment is built around one absolutely non-negotiable priority: safety.
Okay, let's dive into the daily operational reality here, because just building the place is only the starting line. Every single day brings a relentless wave of expenses. First off, you need prime real estate with super easy access for cars, which isn't cheap. Then you've got staff who often need to be paid around the clock. You're getting hit with massive electricity bills to power those giant canopy lights, the pumps, all those refrigeration units, and the store itself. Fuel deliveries are arriving at all hours. Equipment breaks down constantly and needs expensive maintenance. You're paying sky-high insurance premiums and ongoing environmental monitoring fees just to make sure nothing is leaking into the soil. Oh, and if you're a branded station, you're paying hefty franchise and branding fees on top of all that. You aren't just running a retail shop here. You are literally running a logistics business, a safety business, a property business, and a customer service business all at the exact same time.
Which, of course, brings us to the bottom line. After paying for the land, the massive construction costs, buying the actual fuel, paying the staff, the utilities, the maintenance, the insurance, and everything else we just talked about, how much money is actually left for the owner at the end of the day? This is the ultimate question, right? But the truth is, there just isn't one simple answer. Because a station running 24 hours a day right on a massive, busy motorway is playing a completely different game than a quiet neighborhood station that shuts its doors at night.
To really understand the core of how this works, let's compare two totally hypothetical stations. Let's say both of them sell the exact same volume of fuel every month. But Station A suffers from pumps breaking down all the time. Their operating costs are through the roof, and their convenience store is basically a ghost town with empty shelves. Now look at Station B. It's spotless, service is fast and friendly, the shelves are completely stocked, and it's managed brilliantly. Even though their fuel sales are completely identical, by the end of the month, their bank accounts are going to look completely different. And this just proves that having a lucky, high-traffic location simply isn't enough. Ruthless operational efficiency is the true driver of profit here.
And that perfectly tees up what people in the industry call the operator mindset. The most successful station owners out there do not think like cashiers, they think like operators. They track absolutely everything. They're constantly asking how many cars actually pulled in. Out of those, how many people actually walked inside? Which specific snacks are flying off the shelves? How much food inventory ended up in the trash today? How long are people waiting in line? Exactly how much power is that giant drink cooler using at 2 a.m.? Success in this game is not about having one lucky day of massive sales. It's the cumulative result of making hundreds of incredibly smart, microscopic decisions every single day.
Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought. We've traced the millions of years it takes to create the raw product. We looked at the mind-bending trillion-dollar global supply chain, those razor-thin margins at the pump, the high-margin cash engine hiding inside the store, and the absolutely exhausting daily cost of running the place. It's a brilliant but totally unforgiving logistical puzzle. So ask yourself, knowing everything you know right now about the hidden mechanics spinning away behind the pump, if you actually had the opportunity, would owning a petrol station be worth it to you? Think about that the next time you tap your card. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the everyday businesses around you.